It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's sourdough. Hey, it's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Breaking Bread with Tom Papa. I am Tom Papa, and if you're looking at this on the YouTubes, you'll see that I look like a fighter pilot. Partially. I've got a headgear and a remote microphone, and I look like I'm calling the Delta flight in out of the storm. But I am actually, this is vacation mode. I am at the beach, screwing around, eating fun things, and recorded our show today with Andy Kadin from Bub and Grandma's bread company right before I left and was holding off on the intro. So now you get Beach Tommy just hanging out at the beach at the Jersey Shore. And I've got my Jersey Shore staples. I've got my Taylor ham, also known as pork roll. People from New Jersey slice this up, actually comes sliced, and you put it on a roll with an egg and some cheese and some mustard. So I'm all in on that. Haven't made it yet. Very excited to. Then you also get going with. I probably shouldn't show Hebrew National Francs backwards on my YouTube, but because they don't pay me. But neither do the Taylor Ham people. But I would entertain both of these people being advertisers. So if I have to entice you by holding up my wieners, I will. And then, of course, and then it's candy time also. Old-timey, taffy, fudgy, chocolatey candy stuff. This is from a place called Lucille's, which is a place at the Jersey Shore and has a big giant thing on the roof that says, "Oh, fudge." And that's what we called it forever. We didn't even know its name was Lucille's for 20 years. But this is it. I'm diving into the Jersey Shore. I'm doing all things Jersey. I brought some flour. I figure with no sourdough starter, maybe I would make some focaccia, and that sounds appealing. And then I realized, oh, geez, I need yeast. So I got to go back to the store, get some yeast, make some flatbread, make some pan sheet focaccia, and just to keep it going, I have a friend. We have people that our friends always stay at our house and play with our dogs and stuff, and they and feed the sourdough starter because it is out and about. We're out and about, and it is left alone like a little Macaulay Culkin, and it needs its flour and water, and we're going to have to feed it. I did not bring bread in this interview with Andy Kadin. He is one of my first bread friends. Who runs Bub and Grandma's, which makes the most amazing bread. They supply bread to so many of the restaurants in LA, like the finer places. They're made a lot of noise in farmers markets and stuff like that, and even like the places where the restaurants in LA where you're like, well, they obviously make their own bread. No, a lot of times Bub and Grandma's makes their own bread. And he was on before. He was one of our early episodes, and he's just such a good guy. And I brought him on because Bub and Grandma's is finally fulfilling its destiny and opening a retail shop. So you're going to be able, lucky people, not just in LA, when you travel to LA, to go to the Bub and Grandma's storefront and sit and have amazing bread and sandwiches. And there's going to be wine and beer. And I'll let Andy tell you all about it when we get going. But this is a great story. He started off just in his house, in his apartment, learning about bread, just getting into it, rebuilding his own oven with bricks, and just kept perfecting and kept moving, and all of a sudden found himself with a commercial kitchen outside of the house. And then he's supplying all these restaurants, and always had the idea, what if people could actually come and hang at Bub and Grandma's? And I mean, he's been talking about it since I met him, which has got to be, I don't know, 8 years ago, something like that. 6 years ago. And finally, after a lot of ups and downs and ins and outs and pandemics and different kinds of tragedies, he's pulling it off. And it's going to happen very soon from when this comes out. It will be probably just within a week or two. So great conversation, great guy. We get into everything about the bread. We get into everything about just baking and food service, and we go a little deeper than that. And he's just really cool. So please welcome back Andy Kadin. And this podcast is brought to you by TomPapa.com. I just put up 2 shows for sale in Seattle, which is very exciting. I'm going up to Seattle and Neptune Theater. The rest of August, I'm going to have a bunch of clubs as I'm gearing up to tape my new Netflix special. So I'm going to roll through Salt Lake City and Brea, California, and Tempe Improv, and one more. Hawaii. We're going to Hawaii to perform at the Blue Note. And then we got a bunch of theaters. We got Chico and Marin, and we just here down at the Jersey Shore. We've got Red Bank, just went on sale for November. So lots of stuff at tompapa.com. I'm rolling around, and I will be announcing the actual taping of the special. It may or may not be attached to one of the dates that I already have on sale on the website in the area northeast. I'll let you figure it out. All right, that's it. Enjoy now the great Andy Kadin. Well, this is great. It's so awesome to see you, really.
It's always good to have a place to complain about stuff. So that's good. Thanks for having me again.
You come out and vent and stuff.
Yeah.
No, but it's we were just off air just trying to figure out last time we were here, and we think it was like right as the beginning of the end of the beginning of the Troubles.
The early meat of the Troubles, I think.
Where we were still able to come in and do this.
Yeah.
But probably not too many other people were.
I think there were a number of conversations before about, like,
can we, should we,
and how should we, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of mask fumbling and
yeah. Well,
so
it's so good to see you.
Have to do that now.
Yeah, but, right. Well, kind of.
Yeah. Who knows?
Now it's actually
just exchanging COVID.
Now. We didn't have to before either, but we just did. Apparently, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's so good to see you.
You too, man. Long time.
Yeah, and I'm always keeping tabs on all things Bub and Grandma, and I saw this one post where it looked like an actual building was coming together, because we've been talking about you possibly getting retail space for a while.
Yeah.
You're creating, just for my listeners who maybe didn't hear the first one.
Sure.
Bub and Grandma is the preeminent bread baker in LA. It sent out to so many restaurants and places, and if you were eating bread in LA at some point in a good restaurant, there's a good chance you ate Bub and Grandma's bread, and you always had in the back of your head a retail space.
In the front, really. I mean, because I had no intentions to open a bakery in the beginning.
Right.
I was just doing bread in my house to figure out how to make a sandwich that I had growing up in New Jersey and Philly and New York, and it just didn't exist here. So I was trying to figure out how bread worked in order to make that. I never even got to make the thing that I wanted to make, because Dune and Atwater called and I started making the bread for them. And then it became a business, and I, lost my life and blacked out for like 3 years.
Wait, what was that? So you're trying to make the sandwich part.
Yeah.
This is refreshing my brain too.
Oh yeah.
You were trying to make it the sandwich.
I was starting with the classics like Jim Leahy stuff and No Need and tartine and all of those things, and just trying to get a flavor for how to make bread in general.
And where was that sandwich from? The one that you were chasing?
It's really just sort of what people from Philly would call a hoagie roll, like a sub roll in New Jersey, or a grinder, or one of those types of things. Hero, yeah. Right. And there's Bay Cities, and everybody likes their bread, but I don't, and I feel bad about that, but not really. But I still am happy to eat there. It's just not my ideal. So I was trying to reach my ideal sort of sub roll, which we still never even made until now, which we're going to debut at the restaurant when it opens. But the purpose was just to try and figure out how bread worked in general.
Right.
And I did that for like 4, 5, 6 months, and then someone wanted to buy the stuff I was making just screwing around.
And was this a friend? How did people?
Yeah, so I was giving I couldn't eat the bread as fast as I was making it, so I was giving it to the TV studios and the ad agencies I was working at the time, and then also my friends, and this guy Jed Mayhew. He was working at Dune in Atwater Village, which is a great place, still there, killing it, and now they have one downtown too. And I was making ciabatta at the time and gave it to Jed, not thinking anything of it. And he brought it in to Scott Zwiesen from Dune, and he tried it and was just like, this is better than ours. Let's call this guy.
Right.
And then I really had to figure out how to make all this stuff work.
Right.
And make it the same every day and have it ready at the same time every day and deliver it on time. And
this was still when you were home. This was still, this was all out of your kitchen.
Yeah.
Because I know we've talked about this, but if we repeat, who cares? Because the reason I started tracking you down in the first place was pure love of bread when I was starting to bubble up, like starting to make it and make too much of it and the whole thing. And there comes this point where you're like, where am I
supposed to do it?
Am I just going to, and am I going to just keep doing this for my friends? Or is it tempting to open a shop? And, I have a lot of comedy things I've got to take care of. So I never went that way. So to hear your stories is always like, it's always like the what if.
Right.
You're the what if.
You're the difference between our story is that you really enjoy your primary career. I was like trying desperately to claw my way out of writing and TV and advertising and stuff like that. And I said yes out of desperation because I think I was selling them for $1 each.
Right.
I was making $25 a day on bread. I'm not making. The revenue was $25. I was probably losing $50 a day making $25 on the bread.
How much did they want at first?
It was 20. It's the same thing today as it was day one, which is 28 little square sandwich ciabatta a day, and now we do
28.
Our house loaf as well, sourdough for them, and for their downtown place too.
Wow, that's so great.
It's crazy.
It's so great.
And they're the you have good accounts and bad accounts over the years, but they're just the best people, the nicest people, and couldn't ask for better partners than Scott and Ann and the whole crew over there.
How has that bread changed at all?
Sure, yeah. I mean, the ingredients have changed since the beginning. The flours, a bit, I mean, not necessarily the grains that we use, but the purveyors of those grains have changed. Right. As I learned more about each thing and where I wanted to place value through it in the bread that I make. Like, is it just 100% as best as it could possibly be Lamborghini of bread that will not be sustainable if I sell that wholesale because it's so expensive, or do I make it the best amalgamation of the best possible grains I can use to make it a product that people can actually buy. Right. Because I can't make 100% whole grain ciabatta for everybody. Yeah. Which is, if I'm living in a perfect world, everything we would make would just be freshly milled, 100% whole grain stuff. Right. But
once the numbers get to
and people aren't ready to eat that yet. Right. Like it's and that's why I'm excited about the retail too, is because now we can kind of, especially because of COVID and our creativity as a bakery, especially as we've gotten to the size that we are now, has definitely gone away. And it's just been about getting through the pandemic, which was a very, turbulent and scary time where we very well could not have made it if we made some decisions in different ways. Yeah. In a literal way. It was very close. Yeah.
I remember when you had that, when you were here last, you had already had a shutdown.
Yeah. And that was, we didn't know that we were going to be compensated for COVID sick time at that point. Yeah. Which was something that helped our employees a lot. When we closed, I just paid everybody. Right. As if we were operating, because I was like, I don't know how long we're going to be closed. The whole purpose of us doing this is to make sure that we're taking care of the people who choose to work here. Yeah. And if I can't provide a wage to them and they don't know where their money's coming from, we have to shut down for what at first was supposed to be 2 weeks, but turned out to be 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. I just was like, let's go. Let's just pay them and we'll deal with it later. And we just need to make sure everybody can eat.
They must have been so grateful.
Yeah, it was most of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
Everybody's different, but yeah, most of the people who came through, we didn't lose anybody. We didn't have to fire anybody during COVID, so it was like a great. It worked. Our plan worked, and we had to come up with it really quickly. So
that was. I mean, that really is. It's kind of like being like a film director in a way. Like
100%.
It's just problems. Just you have this mission, you have this thing, you have this idea, you want to follow it through.
Bread's the easy part,
right? And then now here's just a world of
human beings enter the picture, and now when we open the restaurant, it'll be close to 100 human beings.
Whoa!
It's crazy. And all those human beings have lives and problems, and and some of those problems bleed into the operations of the bakery, and I kind of play therapist, and I'm happy to do that. And I want everybody to be happy who touches our bakery.
Have you gotten good at that? Because I know like the bread story is pretty nailed down. Like we know you make great bread, and you really have a passion for it, and we'll talk more about it. But you didn't plan when that guy asked for a couple rolls that you would have to manage human beings.
I would have never known, and it's.
Are you good at it?
Far the hardest part. I think I wouldn't ever say that I'm good at it. I just think that I saw a therapist until maybe a month ago for 13 years or something like that straight.
Right.
And it's just like I got a lot of reps. Dealing with my own shit and dealing with what I know, and then now I've got more reps with dealing with other people's shit.
Right.
And it's heartbreaking at times, and sometimes we get to a good place of understanding. I don't have anything that I feel like I can, tell people, or like I don't see myself like that. I'm just trying my best to help as best that I can, if I can, and if I can't, I gotta back off.
And there's that's got to be pretty tricky, because you're not a cold dude. Like you have empathy, and it's like I can tell there's a sensitivity. So there's to know that you can't cross a line and
there's also
be everybody's
laws,
friend.
There's laws, and there's protections for everybody, and in all honesty, for good reason. Most of those labor laws are written in protection of the employees, because historically employees are the ones being taken advantage of. So it gives very solid, most of the time, boundaries for how you can talk about things, and if you're trying to help people, it can still, no matter what situation you're in, can be taken as the opposite, and you just have to do the best that you can and try and be as supportive as you can without stepping on people's toes or getting in their business.
Right.
And it's hard.
That is hard, because because I mean, just you deciding I'm going to pay everybody is like it's like a family situation. But it's not really.
It's not really. That's the hard part, and that's why, especially in a world where employers take advantage of their employees constantly, and yet at the same time on their Instagram posts refer to everybody that works for us as a big family. That's a big kind of word that makes people feel uncomfortable in the food world, because food workers are historically so taken advantage of, that it's frowned upon.
Similar to podcasts, the times that Aaron, our producer, has gotten handsy with me, or just drop some lines, I'm like, what does he mean by that? What is he trying to say?
Well,
like, your bread is delicious.
You got to check in with the HR team. Breaking bread.
You're breaking bread. Thank you for bringing bread along, by the way.
Of course.
This is so good. The baguette that I've been... I gave up chasing it, actually, because of you. Actually, you're like, there's a limit to what you're going to do in your home oven. Unless you start putting bricks in your oven, you're not getting a great baguette.
It's hard.
So I kept that off. Thank you so much for bringing it. I didn't. Of course. I didn't set this up so you would bring me bread.
I just always bring bread to all my meetings and all the things that I got going on, so that if I suck, it's compensated for.
It smells so good. Damn, like the consistency is the thing that really starts to get me after baking bread all this time. And I brought you biscotti because I figured enough with the bread. But it's the consistency that it comes out like this all the time. Mine's are just different shapes and different stuff, and it's just like,
it's hard at home.
It's fun at home. I mean, it's definitely fun, and I'm pretty consistent probably for a home baker.
The stuff that I see on Instagram is like
Yeah,
down
it's
the
pretty
middle.
dialed.
Yeah.
It's pretty dialed in. But knowing there's just a difference. There's just a difference.
It's all the equipment and the ovens and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
ultimately is like having people manage the bakery who care about the bread as much as I do,
Right.
and maybe more. We've
Yeah.
had conversations recently where I feel like consistency is our number one most, like, that's our best quality as
Yeah.
a bakery, besides just having bread that we like to eat, which
Yeah.
is our only metric for determining if it's good or bad, is do we like it?
Yeah.
Having it be the same every day, I think, is the number one, like, thing
Yeah.
that we're proud of.
Yeah.
With so much bread to make and so many people touching it throughout the process across 3 days, like, that's the thing.
That
Yeah.
really is crazy. It's a crazy. I mean, what are the numbers you're at now? Like, what comes cranking out of there every day?
We're doing it's like 600 to 700 sourdough loaves. Sometimes I'd say 300 to 400 baguettes.
Wow.
A bunch of ciabatta, a bunch of flatbreads like focaccia.
This is
and
a
Barbary.
year?
What's that?
This is in a year.
I wish. I really do.
That's a day.
Yeah, that's a day. Those are on big days for sure.
Yeah.
But on like farmers market days where we're doing our regular distribution of bread to all the restaurants, plus like another 200 loaves for the Hollywood
Right.
farmers market, it kind of knocks things up a bit.
Right. Are you bringing a lot more to the farmers market?
We're bringing the exact same because we just now we're at a point where the facility that we have that was probably only half in use the last time we talked is completely maxed out.
You were both floors, I think.
Yeah,
last
we
time.
were like maybe
You were just-
activating them, or
Yeah.
just started using both floors.
Yeah.
And now we can't do any more bread.
You're maxed out.
We could do, like, we're only operating from, on big days, 2 a.m. to 3:30 p.m.
Uh-huh.
And we could activate 3:30 p.m. but it's just like, our equipment will die half as quickly, and our employees will die, and like, it's just like, we can't. It's not worth it. Everything's good. We're doing fine.
So
and we don't need to push it.
So what'd you say? 2 a.m.
2 a.m. is on big
3:30.
days. Yeah, when they don't work that whole time, but
Yeah.
typically we try to keep everybody to 8 hours as best we can.
Right.
Which is another thing that I think helps to maintain the consistency. Is our guys, they're
Yeah.
tired,
Yeah.
but they're not burnt out like they would burn out in a restaurant or
Right.
another bakery space where their schedule's changing days every week and times every week, and
Yeah.
they're working 12-hour days automatically.
Right.
We just don't do that. So
That's smart.
we'll see how that goes when we open the restaurant, because it's more complex. But
Yeah.
we are a slave to whatever the schedule is for bread, and like, the more
Right.
you keep the bread on the clock, the more you get what you expect out the other end. So
Right. And
that-
then everybody. So yeah, and everybody just getting their shipments for the restaurant.
yeah, it comes at the same time. It gets out the
Right.
door at the same time.
Right.
So that helps with our doing the same thing every time at the same time of day situation. Meanwhile, all the variables are fluctuating, the temperature's fluctuating, so you have to learn over time how we compensate for those things, and that's
Right.
why the bread stays consistent. It's just because they've got a handle on it.
I just was reminded of something.
Yeah.
First of all, that's insane. But insane, but in such a good way. Like,
Yeah.
because it is a math kind of thing. It's like from the time you start just baking at all.
Yep. Systems.
Your head is systems, right? It's just systems. It's like systems just to crank out a couple loaves, 4 loaves a week.
Yeah.
Or it's all just bigger systems, and that you're and it sounds monstrous on one hand, but on the other hand, it's like, no, that is the math. That's what goes into
Yeah.
it. We can do it.
Yeah, we need these amount of hands. We
Yeah,
need this number of
right.
machines. We need these number of bins. You're like, even just making the same, one loaf at home, you need these objects.
Right.
And once you,
Yeah.
rise into another level, you have to upgrade those objects in order to make it work.
Yeah.
Using the same timeline, because our timeline is the same as your timeline. It's the
Right.
same shit.
It's funny because I just had this had this little back and forth with my wife, where I also cook, so there's like a lot of shit like near the stove.
Yep.
And she wants some of her counter space back, like as she's looking at
over.
it.
It's too late.
But I do most of the cooking, so I'm always like my system and my stuff for the cooking is like right there. And she was moving stuff, and I didn't realize until I could just let her have it, because I know she can mess with the cooking and the olive oil and the salt and all the stuff that's over there.
Yeah.
But when we were having the conversation, she kind of glanced over at the bread corner, which literally had a 50-pound bag, two buckets
I'm
full,
sorry, I
all of
can't.
that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll let her. I don't want to her to mess with the cooking part, but she can't. If I blow it, she's coming for the bread.
Yeah, you gotta cut your losses and focus on what you can maintain.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Okay, so the thing that popped into my head was, listen to this. I had this great Italian restaurant in the Valley. I love. It's like it's my staple. It's the place that I go. I won't name it because of what I'm about to say, which is so insane. And maybe they'll hear it, and I won't have to complain to them.
Okay.
And would you complain to them? That's a good question.
Okay.
I've been going there forever. It's a great place, and real legit Italian stuff. And I went there with my couple of friends last week, and a thing on top of the menu said, we are charging, if you would like bread, we're charging $1.50 per person.
Per person.
Per person.
That's weird.
For the bread.
Definitely never seen that specific. That seems crazy.
I haven't seen any charge for bread ever, unless you're like, they're saying, you get the bread with the goat cheese or whatever,
right.
like that kind of
It's
a setup.
incorporated into a dish.
Yeah, like as an appetizer. But just bread in an Italian restaurant?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of something so insane?
If I were them, I would just raise all of their prices a quarter so you don't have to put that on the top of your menu. But
Right.
there's a reason why.
Why?
Because everything is insanely expensive right now.
Everything. Just because of inflation.
Yes.
Right. Global inflation, by the way, which we always think it's an American problem, but
Not
the
an American
whole
problem.
world is.
The reason why we had to raise our prices for the second time in 7 years, a couple months ago. I think it was in February, and the reason why flour prices have skyrocketed, which they have, up from, let's say, November in 2021, the price of a 50-pound bag of Sir Galahad King Arthur flour was like $18. As of last month, it was $27.50. So if you can extrapolate that, I say we go through 650 bags a week,
Right.
and you figure out what that totals at the end of the year. It's like business defining kind of losses.
Yeah.
So we had no choice but to raise prices, at least for the
Sure.
time being. If we have the ability to bring them back down when things settle, and it seems like they might, we'll do that.
Right, of
but
course.
I think that's where that's coming from, is like, normally they could just toss a basket of bread on the table. People might not even touch it, but it doesn't affect their bottom line.
Right.
But now it does.
Right.
And it's like, same thing with like gas. Gas prices have never been a thought of mine. We charge $5 per delivery.
Right.
And which is really low in the bread world.
Yeah. $5 for delivery.
Yes. And that, we have to pay for a driver. We have to pay for the vans. We have to pay for gas.
Right.
But now you look at the P&L at the end of every month, and gas is an extra $1,000 a month.
Wow.
That's $12,000 at the end of the year. That's a huge amount of money, and you have to take that back somewhere.
Yeah.
So we had to raise our delivery fee for the first time. And I think for us is like, you could say, every account, we're going to be charging you a flat rate of extra of $20 a month because of inflation.
Yeah.
Or which is like the same as like putting that on the top of your menu, even though the specific, like $150 per person is really weird. Way to do that. But and they're just trying to control their costs. But I think they could have done it in a less silly way.
They're trying to control their costs. Yeah, like you wouldn't blink if the $36 salmon dish was $40.
Yeah, who's
like
gonna,
right?
Yeah, and even if you raise your salmon by $4, that's going to be like $100,000 at the end of the year. Like that's how significant that change would be. If you raise it by a quarter, you're covering your bread costs and you're fine.
Right.
It's like,
is the bread thing at all? Is this just general inflation, or is are you feeling any ripples from Ukraine?
That's what it is.
It is Ukraine.
It is 100% connected to Ukraine, because Ukraine produces 10% of the world's flour.
God.
World's flour. So when you just yank 10% out of the world market, the U.S. is now exporting to replace, because we're next in line, to replace all of that, which means that there's a shortage in the States and the price goes up. So that's what happened to like all the bakeries in the States, is that they're compensating for the absence of Ukraine's wheat in the market.
Got it. And so I wasn't sure if Ukraine was just feeding Europe,
They are, but
then
they still need
now
wheat.
Europe can't get it.
Europe can't get wheat,
So it's
now
coming
they're
from us
here. Yeah,
God,
it's pretty wild. Yeah,
because I noticed that like the price of flour for like Central Milling and those places hasn't really
they don't export because they're small. Yeah, but King Arthur is buying from more industrial sources, be they responsible,
right?
Because they're great.
Yeah, they're great.
But Central Milling is just mostly
an artisan
domestic.
kind of like
and they're not sending anything out.
Right. So they're not affected.
No, not really. Yeah, which is
kind of. They're not affected, but I guarantee they're having a talk about their delivery prices.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because, I mean, every single thing is...
All the delivery prices from all of our distributors for everything went up.
Yeah.
Because those guys are on the road constantly.
Right. What is literally the physical... when you order from King Arthur, these 650 pounds?
Yeah.
Or bags, was it? How many?
Yeah, well, that's a spread across... that's not per week.
How often do you get shipments?
Every other week.
Every other week.
Yeah, and we get
big ass bags come.
3 or 4 pallets full. So each pallet has 50 bags.
Got it.
And then we just rip through those. And then so we get King Arthur, Sir Galahad. That's our main bread flour that we use in most breads. And then all of our whole grains, most of our whole grains come from Camas, which is up north. They ship it down directly to us, but we buy through a distributor for King Arthur bread flour, and it's, I don't want to name their names, but like because of how screwy the prices have been and because of how much they're competing to pick up our business and other bakeries' businesses, they're trying to undercut each other by like cents to get our business. And we've just been like, I don't really have any allegiances to either of you gigantic national distributors. Whoever gives me the lower price, I'll go with you for now.
Right, it's the same product.
Until we can buy direct from King Arthur, but don't tell them that.
Right.
You have to buy, the minimum purchase from them is like a large number of pallets, and then you can order direct from them, but we don't have the space for that. Like a dozen more.
Like a dozen more.
Yeah, which is like, more than a month's worth of flour for us.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, and we just don't have the space for that. But we would maybe do that at our next spot,
right?
Which we need immediately. But
are you outgrowing this? Like, do you want another big
We're not going to outgrow. I think the plan is to keep that and get another one.
Okay.
So I've been trying to get this restaurant open for so long that it's been backburnered, but now it's very apparent that we're maxed out. So I've got feelers out all over the place. But I because we're there now, because we're maxed out now, I can't just find a space that's empty and build it out, because it'll take 18 months at least.
Yeah.
So then we'll just be not able to grow for those 18 months, which is kind of gnarly.
Yeah.
So the hope is that we can find a bakery that's closing or closed or wants to sell or something like that, or not even a bakery, just a catering business or a big kitchen-approved space that we can do some stuff to and open in 6 months.
Right. It's got the ovens. It's got everything in there.
Even if it's just a kitchen approved space with the city, then we can move the ovens in much more easily than if it was just a warehouse.
Right.
Which we've looked at plenty of those and got pretty far down the road on some of them, but then realized, like, why are we paying a premium for this really nice space when it's going to take us 2 years to open here, and we're going to just never grow during that time? Some other bakery could come in and do something else during that time. That
2 years. Yeah. That's pure regulation.
It is a
passing
nightmare.
All the California regulations.
I have so many little notes in my little notepad in my phone after dealing with inspectors or city bullshit, and just letting it all out, because
that's crazy.
Especially in this extremely fast-growing business-oriented city that fancies itself really great supporters of small business, yet they make it excruciatingly difficult and illogical to open a small business here, especially one that deals with food. I mean, the system doesn't make any sense. But no one wants to do the work to change it, because that might mean their job goes away at the city, because it's been so screwed up for so long. The bureaucracy is bonkers, and when they don't want to hear what you're trying to say, be it logical, they are in the authority position and just say, I don't give a shit what you think. Do what I tell you, and you have no choice.
God.
However, at the last run with this restaurant, the last 2 months, we have had fantastic inspectors, and they've been kind and generous, and they hear what happened to us with our contractor, which I'm sure we'll get into. But there are good people within the system. They're just
Right.
their hands are tied.
Yeah, man, that's so frustrating. But I mean, that's kind of the story for all of California. I mean, that's why these big businesses are just leaving.
Yeah.
Because it really is it's
We're paying a premium on taxes, and why is that not translating to it being easier to do business?
we're paying
here?
so much, but every time we go to vote, there's so many things on the ballot and you're just like mindlessly like, yeah, you should,
of course,
you should make that safer, make that safer. But that all comes down to just bogging down the system. I was kept putting solar panels up on my roof. I'm literally in the 4th year of it.
Oh yeah, I remember, this is the classic Bill Maher thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same exact. When he started talking about it, I was just laughing to myself because it's been just kind of this quiet, funny thing in the background of my life. Is and then check in with the solar company. And check in, and now we're so close. It's all on. It's all there. And then we passed inspection. And then they're like, okay, now
how's the next inspection?
Like, oh God, I don't know if it's ever gonna happen.
Yeah, it's wild.
Oh my God.
It's like with comedy and just the way my brain works, like everything is A produces B. It's all like logic. Like you're like, oh, okay, so if I do this is what I have to follow these instructions, and when I get to the end, I'll have the thing that I need to have. Right. Like a laugh or a solar panel or a loaf of bread or whatever.
Right.
And
seems so simple.
That shit does not compute in the city. They don't. God. They are so wrapped up in all their bullshit that it doesn't. It's impossible to pull it apart. It's like someone with their headphones all tangled up, and you just decide to throw out the headphones because you can't untangle them.
It is this kind of thing where you see, like, the Supreme Court just had that big decision for the EPA.
Oh yeah.
But you see, at its root, like. Where these businesses can you take that off them, they just thrive. They just explode. And there's got to be some balance. I mean, once it deals with like that stuff.
Unfortunately, thriving in that case means like pumping a bunch of black smoke into the sky.
That we're not
destroying the planet and
Earth. We'll never have water in LA. all those little things.
We'll have tons more cancer, but no water.
But it is that dance. It is that dance that. Even just like Texas and California are going through of like, hey, you guys can come here. We're not going to do that to you. You can have your bakery open in 3 months if you want.
But if it gets cold, we won't have power for like maybe a month. So these are the trade-offs.
Yeah. And I've got teenage kids, and they can't go get jobs at food places. Like we all worked the ice cream shops and bus tables, and if you're under 18, you're not allowed to be near food. That is insane. All right, but enough of that bullshit. Let's talk about the space. What is the space called? Because this is a huge milestone. When, how, what's up?
We went really creative with the name. It's called Bub and Grandma's.
Clever.
Just to make it as confusing as possible for people trying to figure out whether the wholesale bakery space or this space is the restaurant. So it's right around. It's actually right around the corner from the bakery. It's in Glassell Park.
Cool.
It's on Eagle Rock Boulevard. It's a space that I've been driving by for 12 years, as long as I've been living like 5 minutes from there, which is why I chose that space. It's pretty much a straight line from my house to the bakery, and right in the middle is the shop.
Oh, that's great.
And like in the beginning, when I was just trying to escape advertising and open a food business, I was like, I just have to raise a little bit of money, or I can maybe even save enough money to buy a closed Subway or Jimmy John's or whatever and turn it into the sandwich shop. And that'll be what I want to do, 500 square feet or less.
Sounds like a perfect plan.
Now we have a lot more facets to the business. There's all of the breads. Chris Lear, who's been with me for 6 years and is one of my best buds, was our head baker at the bakery and is now our head pastry chef. So we built him a pastry kitchen. So we'll have all of his insane pies and cakes and cookies and biscotti and rugelach and babka and all sorts of stuff every day.
Babka, man. I was just looking at this cookbook called A Good Bake.
I don't know.
I'll look up her name.
Okay.
She's really... Like, I love just reading these books. Like, just reading them as books.
I got to snag it.
It's, and she has some babka things in there that just look like, I never even thought about making babka. And now I'm just driving around thinking, I've got to make babka.
It's so good and it's so messy.
It is. It's gooey.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you fill it with. But if you fill it with chocolate, it's everywhere. But to most people who love chocolate, that's probably a good thing.
Melissa Weller?
Oh, I saw that book the other day at the the bookstore downtown or
Yeah,
Chinatown.
in Chinatown. A good bake.
Yeah, I didn't open it though.
I cut it off. Yeah, Melissa Weller.
Okay.
With Carolyn Karen. But Melissa, she worked in a lot of major places as the pastry chef and baker and stuff. And yeah, she's got some the babka just looks insane.
Oh yeah, I mean.
So was he always thinking pastry? Was he?
He was a pastry chef. So Chris.
Okay.
Chris and I lived. The last place I lived before moving to LA in 2009, I think, something like that, was Boston. I lived in Boston for 2 years.
Okay.
Which was intense as a person not in college.
Yeah.
At that time. It was fine. I moved there for a job and it was fine. But I met Chris there, who was living there, who grew up in Boston area.
Right.
And at the time, he was a part owner of a bike shop and a musician. Played in a bunch of bands with some of my friends. That's how we got connected.
Okay.
Sweetest guy in the universe. Always cooking crazy shit.
Right.
Experiments, whatever.
Nice.
I moved to LA for an ad job. And right when I left, he decided to go to pastry school in Boston for 2 years. And then him and his wife moved out. And of course, he immediately got a job at Mozza.
Right.
Because that's who Chris is.
Yeah.
He's just like, you know.
I'll go to the best place in LA.
And they'll hire him, you know, like even though it's literally his first job. He just goes in and wows people because he's so diligent and on it and creative and smart. So he worked there for a year, and then he moved to the Tasting Kitchen in Venice and worked there for a year. Briefly was the head pastry chef there, and then the timing just worked out where our original first head baker, whose name's Kevin Morton and now owns Village Bread in Redlands off the 10, Chris came in and became our second head baker and has been basically since then until maybe 6 months ago. He moved off of our bakery payroll and is now on the sandwich shop payroll. And Jess Abel, who's been our head baker at the bakery for now 2 years, 2.5 years, something like 3 years. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
So Chris
time
was
doesn't
always
mean anything.
Yeah, that's for
time
sure.
means nothing right now.
But yeah, this is something that, you know, we always kind of fantasize about doing is now like, okay, let's cut Chris loose. Let's like give him whatever he needs to make whatever he wants. Just basically the criteria that we talked about is like, I don't know, like.
So when I go into Bub and Grandma's retail space, what's going to be it's going to be sandwiches and pastries.
Yeah.
Is it going to be?
So we've got like there's a little alcove at the entrance, and there's a little to-go window there, so that for folks who just want to come and get pastry or coffee or bread or pick up an order, they don't have to like deal with going inside. So we've got all the retail breads there. We've got a whole range of retail pastry per day.
Nice.
We're roasting our own coffee, so we'll have.
That was my next question. Yeah. I had it locked and loaded.
We're like, you know, we've made everything as hard as possible thus far. Let's just
roast our own coffee.
Tack this on top and maybe think about trying to start a coffee company.
Oh, that's.
So we're doing that, and the bakery's been drinking the coffee for a while, and they like it. So I like it, and my wife likes it. And
really?
So far, so good.
That is exciting.
We're going to sell it in cans, so that'll be cool.
Old school.
Yeah. And if you bring the can back, you get a discount, which is good.
Clever. Is there a name for the coffee?
Bub's Brew.
Bub's
naturally.
Brew. Good.
It's like, don't love the name, but also it's the only name that it could be. You know, it's like just fits.
It has to.
I'm sure I've
what's it? What is your
the blend?
Yeah. What is your when you go to fancy coffee places?
Yeah.
Like, what are you looking for, and what did this achieve? Nothing. You're not a coffee snob.
No.
Okay.
I kind of like. I mean, we tasted so many different blends of beans that we put together to try and make this what we wanted.
Yeah.
Which was just like not offensive to anybody, but also not bland.
Right.
So it's like
it's good, solid.
Or like diner coffee that's always watered down and is never good, but is always satisfying for some reason.
Right.
It's like that, but like not watered down.
Right.
It's like a quality, basic, straightforward coffee that everybody can that everybody has can access and not feel like they're dealing with something snobby.
Nice.
But like I just
good
drink
call.
black coffee and
me
cold
too.
brew. That's it.
Yeah.
I just I'm not really like a big milk guy in general.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. I know. My wife was actually saying that the other day. I had a gig in San Diego, and we went to get coffee on the way out. And she's like, I really don't understand how you can just drink black coffee.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, I don't want to put anything in it.
It's delicious.
If she said to me, if someone came by mistake, gave you a coffee with a lot of cream in it, I say, I wouldn't drink
don't
it.
want that.
Yeah, I really would have a hard time getting it down.
It happens. It's happened, or like somebody's like, oh, I'm going to go grab some coffee. Do you want one? And then they just instinctively put some, we're like, oh, just put some cream in there. And it's like,
Cream and sugar.
thanks. You're like, try to feign that you're,
Yeah.
but I get grossed out.
So I can go get some pastries
Yep.
and some coffee and just split.
Yep.
Or buy some bread and go split.
Yep.
Or if I want to hang.
Yes. So inside, it's one of those newfangled things where you order and take a number and sit down.
Okay.
And we deliver the food to your table. So it's a sandwich shop.
Nice.
That's getting back to the original idea.
Yeah.
So it's about a dozen different sandwiches to start. We're gonna have specials and stuff too, on a variety of different breads, including the bub sub is what we're calling it, which is the sub roll that we've made and is waiting to go.
So is that the Holy Grail?
Yeah.
Like we've actually,
Yeah.
after all this time?
Yeah, it's really, 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 really good.
Is it?
Yeah.
What-
I'm very happy about
Oh, that's
it.
great.
Chris took the reins on that and just nailed it.
Oh, that's so
it took
great.
6 months. Like it took like a lot of time
Yeah.
and development and reps and different equipment and different, now we bought a molder, which like takes the dough, you just dump it in, it rolls it into like a tube, and then we can just stretch it out to what we need it to be. And it kind of takes some of the, like with our baguettes, which are all done by hand.
Right.
I like the uniqueness of everything. It should have they should all be different. Some of them might be curved a little bit sometimes, or have different unique qualities to them. This I want to be like the sub rolls that are made in machines, but they're made by hand. So it's like kind of a combo.
What a great
of
combo.
the two. But yeah, it's like kind of modeled after mostly Philly style stuff. It's got sesame seeds.
Okay.
It's like a shiny crust, and it's just perfect for holding things together without destroying your mouth.
How long of a roll?
The
6 foot or 12 footer?
They're all 20 inches.
20 inches.
And then we're gonna cut them. 21 inches, and then we're gonna cut them each into thirds. The sandwiches will be like a little more than 7 inches each.
Okay.
And that are on that bread.
And what's on the bub sub?
A variety of different things. The sandwiches are kind of all over the place. We have classics like an Italian.
Oh, so the bub sub is
That's just the bread.
Just the bread.
Yeah, that loaf is called the bub sub.
I gotcha.
But there are a variety of different sandwiches that are on it.
Is there the Holy Grail of the Andy favorite that he was chasing when he was a kid?
The Italian is that.
Italian is that,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I'm more of a turkey guy generally. I was very picky eater when I was a kid, even though I eat everything now. I feel like it's a common tale.
Yeah.
And turkey was like, and my parents always described this, like what I ate as a kid is like, you only eat white things. So like white pasta, like pasta with butter and salt.
Yeah.
Like, grilled cheese with only white cheese, no yellow cheese.
White bread.
Yeah, white bread. Yeah, it's just
so
such
funny.
a pathetic little child.
I had a thing with my daughter who was only plain pasta with butter.
Yeah.
Plain pasta with butter.
I still do it all the time.
Yeah, and then I may have said this to you. And then we went to and it's really like decent Italian restaurant in New York that was in the West Village that we would go to all the time. And we were like making an excuse for our daughter, like, we're so sorry, she just wants pasta with butter. And she schooled us. She was like, no, you have to understand, where I came from in Italy, that is how you eat it. You eat it with a little bit of salt, a little bit of butter, and you get the real pasta in it. And my daughter was just at like 6, like, well. Look who's more Italian than you.
You are so inauthentic, Dad.
With your carbonara.
Yeah, with your just trying to be fancy.
Yeah.
It faded, but I still,
Yeah.
if my wife is out and like I'm, that's like, she'll eat it too, but like I still think about it all the time.
It's really
it's like,
it's solid.
yeah,
Yeah,
no problem. It's
I
like
know.
fusilli with where the butter really gets in the little
Yeah,
nooks.
exactly.
Oh,
A little salt on it. But the Italian sub,
it's kind of the New Jersey sandwich of record.
there was a problem with North Jersey and South Jersey. Not a problem, but a difference. And I call it a problem because I came from North Jersey.
Yep.
And when you would get subs down south, they always took the lettuce and shredded it.
Okay.
It was always kind of shredded with
You might be upset.
and then some crazy onions on it.
Yep.
And up north it wasn't as shredded. It would be like a little more solid, and you wouldn't notice it as much.
We're gonna shred.
Okay.
But that was actually not my upbringing. I mean, I'm North Central Jersey.
Right. Where
I
again?
know Milburn, Short Hills.
Milburn. Okay, yeah.
Sorry, but like Milburn Deli is the famous deli in the area, and they didn't do subs per se. It was mostly like sloppy joes, or I guess they call them joes, but the turkey joe has like coleslaw and turkey and Russian and stuff like that.
Right.
But they would do it on like on a sourdough loaf. And then they would cut it into thirds with triangle cut, which we're going to mimic on one of our sandwiches
cool.
in homage.
Nice.
But yeah, so the Shreddus situation is definitely going to...
Well, just don't go too heavy with it.
No way. It has to be balanced.
Yes, a little.
And there will be onions in there too.
Balance is the key.
Yeah, but things like that. Also,
Right.
the other kind of classic lunch sandwich that we're going to do. I want to have things that are cheap. And things that are not quite as cheap but are still not expensive. So like one of the cheapest sandwich that we're going to do that's not a breakfast sandwich, we're doing that too, and we're going to bake Kaiser rolls in house, which is huge. Is kind of an Arby's style roast beef sandwich, which will be on a Kaiser roll.
That's gonna be good.
You take the top roll, you put mustard on it, and then you dip the top in the juice, and you put it on top of the sandwich, just a little bit, so you can actually hold it and it's not dripping all over the place. And it comes with a side of juice too. So it's this
is gonna be insane. You're
Yeah,
gonna have lines
really
out.
excited.
You're gonna have lines out the door. When is it
hope so.
opening?
I would say this was a very productive week.
Oh, good.
So I can say with more certainty that it will open in August.
In August.
Most likely towards the end.
Okay.
But it's looking like that's what where we're at. And
this is
meanwhile, for the
exciting.
last 12 months, I've been like, it's looking like April. It's looking like March.
Yeah.
But it's just,
Will there be a grand opening party?
I don't think so.
Just a quiet
Slow roll.
open.
I don't want to even tell anybody.
Yeah,
we'll do
just
our.
let it
we want
be.
to take care of our investors and our neighbors and all the people who live in the neighborhood.
Right.
We're already doing a thing where I had a couple different things made up. Like all of our employees get a little actually I have one in my pocket. Everybody's gonna have one of these things. It just says Bub Staff on it, and then you can come and get a discount. But then on top of that, anyone who lives in 90065 can come and show us a piece of mail or their driver's license or whatever, and we'll give them a little medal. It's actually a dog tag, but it says Bub's Local on it, and you get 5% off if you come.
Nice
So just
touch.
try to. I live in the neighborhood. I've lived there for a long time. We've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate that a bit. And but yeah, so we'll probably do some sort of like slow roll, soft open kind of things to get our staff trained up. But then we'll probably just open the doors.
What's cool about that is it's going to be it's kind of like discovering a band on your own.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than you have to like this band.
That too, and also like the band doesn't have to be that polished on day one,
right?
Because they're not gonna be, and I don't want to like blow out our staff because
right.
This is like a 3-year thing leading up to 3 weeks to figure out who's working there and how to make all this shit and get it all together, and that's how restaurants work, and then I've been dealing with the absurdity of the city and our fraudulent contractor and like all this stuff for the last however many years.
God.
But that only builds to an even more insane prospect of an open restaurant with all these people you've never met before who are running it. Not who are running it, who are operating it.
Yeah.
And it's I'm very excited, but now there's this new horror being born of like, oh fuck, we have to do this.
Yeah. God, once that's open.
It's open.
Any days off? Any days when it's closed?
I don't have days off, so
yeah.
Oh, it will.
7 days?
It's going to be open 7 days right out of the gates.
7 days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say that now, but that's the plan. Currently.
Right.
Yeah.
And where will you be physically? I mean, it's nice that they're close.
Yeah.
But will you be in the beginning? I imagine you're going to be in the restaurant a lot.
Yeah. And the bakery is doing a fantastic job on its own. Jess is a killer. We have multiple managers who are doing great on the floor. And then, Zach Huber is our ops manager. So it's a whole other half of the bakery is not just bread stuff. It's packing all the bags and making sure they get to the right places all over Los Angeles, from Venice to the Valley to wherever, to Inglewood.
Wow.
And that's Zach's management job. And the combination of all of our bakery managers plus Zach and his team, like they are just humming. It's hard, but they are humming. So going to be back and forth, and I still handle a lot of the money stuff over there. So I'll be doing bank runs and deposits and all that shit. But that's just Mondays. So
it's all just from making a couple rolls.
I know. It's like, what am I
rolls
doing
in your place? That's so crazy.
It's catastrophe. But yeah, it's really good. And the other thing that's unique about this is everything with the bakery since day one.
Yeah.
Has been my job. I've had that job. Like I've been the baker, and then I was the baker and the driver, and then I was the baker, the driver, and the accountant, and then I could eventually, as we got big enough, kind of like, you got this, okay, you do that, okay, like, and now it's to the point where they don't really need me at the bakery anymore, and are in fact like, get the hell out of here, man. And I also at the shop. Where like we're opening from scratch and have never done it before.
Yeah.
All of the positions are filled with people who have.
Right.
So there is no position for me other than to be support for whatever's needed, be it the food or the front of house people.
Yeah.
It's
going to be a big. There is definitely just as a fan and an eater of Bub and Grandma, like the idea that you can actually enter Bub and Grandma.
Yeah.
And that you'll be there. That like you'll see, like that's a people have been into this for so long that there's a physical manifestation of the place.
It's
and
absurd.
That's gonna be big for a lot of people.
I hope so. Like even just the fact that I'm not manning the farmers market stand anymore at Hollywood, or now we have Culver City and Altadena too. Was a loss for me, because that was my connection to the people who enjoy the bread that we make. And now I only kind of communicate with the restaurants via email and stuff like that. But this is what I wanted to do from the beginning. I as much as I hate people, I also love a lot of them. People are the best and the worst. So I can't wait to see the best. We've had only just such ridiculously wonderful people that I've met through this thing that are now lifelong friends and are, part of our I just said I wouldn't say family, but they are kind of pretty much.
No, they are. It's a business family, but it's family in that context. And it's going to be it's going to be a little bright spot. Like wow, there's so much shit going on and everybody's kind of at their wits end. And I literally was on the beach yesterday, and we drove down to Malibu. We snuck away for the afternoon. And it was nice. It was because it was after the holiday and everything was midweek, and it was like just enough people. And the forecast was going to be kind of cold, so people weren't jamming out early. And it was like just the right amount of people. And everybody was cool. Like someone was playing music, but not crazy. And someone was putting up a little thing for their kid, but not a giant structure where they're building like a house on the beach. Totally. It was just so perfect. And then I'm just sitting there reading, and I hear someone behind me go, and this is right after another horrible tragedy, and I hear a woman going, of course they're going to start blaming the guns. They're going to start saying it's the guns and not the other stuff. And just the way, like, it was loud. It was just talking points that someone who's regurgitating from watching some kind of there wasn't nuance. There wasn't whatever. It was just, and I turn over and I turn back, and there is this woman, like, I don't know, 60, with a big giant American flag umbrella, and just by herself, just spouting this stuff. And it's like,
to a phone.
We're all here to escape that. Just turn it down a notch. Just turn it down a notch.
This ain't the place.
This isn't the place.
It's the beach.
Exactly.
It's free.
And that there are places like your spot's going to open, and it's going to attract good people.
I hope so.
We need these little escapes.
And it's not what's most important to me is it's not a place that shuts anyone out, and not speaking about that woman, because she might find a way to get shut out. But
if you're that person, like, just turn it down.
Have a sandwich.
When we're all here.
I don't care what you're into.
I don't care.
I care if you like my sandwich.
There's nuance on all parts of this, but there are the thing that's exhausting about the culture is that we feel like that's like our opener. Like, people think that they're going to lead with politics, which is something that we weren't even allowed to talk about.
Not that long ago.
No politics or religion. Just keep it out, and we'll all get along. You need those little spots.
I I hope that it's that. It's certainly going to be that for us on
Yeah.
our side of the restaurant.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count on it.
It bleeds in, but
Yeah.
but
It's certainly not the focus. It's a place to have a good time. We're going to be doing
Right.
live music at night.
Nice.
And like, it's going to be a celebratory place.
Yeah.
That includes everyone.
The thing that makes those places stick and makes them valuable is when the owner's involved. And I know just from comedy clubs, like from when I started touring,
sure,
if you went to a place where the owner was involved, it was heaven.
Right.
It was heaven.
They gave a shit. It's their place.
And you went to a place where these chains, where it was just some manager, the new manager this week.
Yeah.
They were soulless, and you just would never want to go back.
You could feel it on your performance too.
Feel it on stage
in the audience.
Yeah, the audience feels lesser than the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the restaurant world too. 100%. It's like your motivation to open one of these places is either because you love it and you want to be a part of it,
right?
Or you are trying to make money,
right?
And if your sole purpose is trying to make money, then that is what's going to be eaten or heard or whatever, and that's like that is unconsciously felt.
100%.
And even if it's good and successful, it will over time fail if you're basing your judgments on money or likes or whatever.
So back to the $1.50 for bread.
Yeah.
Okay, we understand why.
Yep.
Maybe they should say it in the verbiage, or maybe they should.
It's hard because I think about all this shit. It's like there's a million things that have run through my head over the last however many years since I thought about doing this.
Yeah.
And the thing that keeps popping up that I'm still not going to do, but still want to do is like on the counter next to the register is a binder, and it just has like facts, FAQs. It just has like reasons why the bread costs more than the bread at the supermarket.
Right.
Like, a million different things. Why are we sold out of XYZ? Like,
for you or for the customer?
It's for the customer to look at. And it's like,
right.
Or on another thing is like, did you have a bad experience? Please let us know why so we can fix it.
Right.
Don't tell Yelp. Because they are extortionists and they are just trying to get paid to remove bad reviews from your site.
Right, exactly.
I can't wait to.
I forgot about that part. I forgot about that.
I care so much about like stuff that I shouldn't like that because I don't like. This is why it's really hard to manage large numbers of people.
Yeah,
is because I am my whole life is dedicated to making sure that like everybody's happy who's in my life, which is problematic for a number of reasons.
Sure.
But like having irrational people like lash out at us for minuscule things that went wrong, yet not telling us about it in the moment.
Let me tell you what's wrong with Bub and Grandma.
Because I am an authority.
I parked a block away and I got a ticket. Wait, what?
Wait. And that lowers your rating, which is all that somebody looks at. You know? I mean, if I'm looking for someplace to eat, sometimes I pull it up. I'm not really reading reviews, but it's just like I just need to know what's nearby.
Right.
But
do you think that over time it kind of nets out?
I think so. But it just doesn't mean that it doesn't cut, because it does.
Yeah, welcome to it.
I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure your whole job is that.
Right.
Yeah.
You suck.
Yeah.
I did a funny video about New Jersey yesterday because I'm playing in Atlantic City, and some guy who got offended. I'm like, I'm from New Jersey.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
What are you? Everyone's so sensitive. You got to kind of, you can't really. Well, good luck.
Hard.
Yeah,
you can't pander either. You just kind of like that.
No,
that's like I'm not going to. There's a cookbook that I love from a restaurant that I loved when it existed in its first format, which is wow, I just kind of blacked out. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to come back.
Where was the restaurant?
It was in the city. It was on Carmine, and it was oh my God, why am I blanking?
Justo.
No, not Justo. It's basically like a lunch counter kind of sit down restaurant with an extremely long menu of items. Now he moved into Essex Market and he just makes burgers.
Oh yeah.
Not just burgers. He makes a bunch of different things, but it's not as special as the place that he was in on Carmine.
And he had a cookbook off of that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's basically his whole philosophy, and I'm gonna have to look this up on my phone.
It's all right.
I'm like,
We're allowed. We have a lot of things on your head.
Freaking out. I do. This is like, I stopped smoking weed this month too. So I
You
think
did?
It's affecting my.
That's so weird because
my
I'm
processing.
just starting to go back to it.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful. I miss it so much.
You do?
I'm on like day 6. Hold on. I'm looking.
Is it awful?
It's hard.
It is
hard. I mean, I
When would you smoke though? Because you're so busy. You're so
Not during the day.
You're so right.
It's the come down.
Just at the end of the night.
Yeah.
And how many hours before bed do you like? A lot of times I'll think about doing it and then be like, I'm going to bed in an hour. Is that
like I pass out on the couch at like 9:30
at 9? Because your day is over at.
Well, I just like the stress of the day is often in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it.
You didn't do it?
I didn't find it.
Keep going.
It's just 2. All right, I'm gonna look.
Yeah, you got to find it.
And his daughter is a novelist, and I love.
I'm
going to
find it before you. I don't even know what it is.
You very well may. It might even not. It might
Sandwich
be
shop.
Bedford. It wasn't a sandwich shop per se.
Where was it?
Hold on. I bet he's still in the Essex Market. Let me see.
Downtown L.A.
No. New York.
Oh, New York.
Yeah.
Oh, shitballs. Oh, you're talking about Nick's. That had a giant menu. It was a Greek place. He had 2 of them in the Upper West and Upper East.
Where's the list of
And it was
Essex Market our vendors?
And it was so it was like the menu was so long that it was almost like you wanted to order the most obscure thing. Like there's no way they're gonna have
and they're like,
a
bring it out,
meatloaf
it's amazing
soup right now, and they would.
Shopsins.
Shopsins?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
That's his last name, but he's famously angry. Like, this is my restaurant and my family's restaurant, and we do things exactly the way that I want to do them. And if you don't like it, you're 86 and don't come back. So you constantly be like, no more than a table of 4. I don't care, whatever it is, that we don't do that. I don't amend any of the things on my menu. It's exactly as they're supposed to be because that's how I want to present them.
Right.
He's right about nearly everything. But, to me, there's something like the customer is always right is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. That is so not true. Like, and that's not how people. That just implies that you can be a shithead to people working in a restaurant.
Right.
It entitles people to be shitty to other people.
Right.
Who invariably have nothing to do with your problem with the restaurant.
No.
It's like the wait staff or someone else who's not associated with your problem.
I've been talking about that in my act. I talk about being nicer to people in customer service.
Yeah.
And I say, why would you attack the waiter? They are the last person in a long chain of events.
It has nothing to do with them.
Nothing to do with them at all.
And they're already underpaid, and they're already dealing with bullshit from other people, and probably their boss, and probably all sorts of stuff.
And they just want to make. I always say they just want to make their rent and buy some cocaine on the way home.
You nailed it. It's pretty absurd.
They don't want to serve you.
But his whole his ethos is that it's not, the customer is not always right, and having really strong opinions about what you do no matter what you do, and sticking to that no matter what comes at you is how you succeed and how you do something tremendous. It's like why artists are artists.
That's right.
Is like, I'm not going to go and try and draft behind Picasso.
Right.
I'm going to just develop my own style naturally without thinking about anything because it's of me.
That's right.
So that's what we want to do here is like, this is very much of us.
Right.
And if you don't like it, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
But fuck off.
Right.
Don't give a shit if you don't like it. Just don't come back.
Yeah, exactly.
We got other people who want your seat.
Why are you here?
Yeah.
Why are you here?
But I highly recommend. I'll get you a copy next time. His book is amazing.
Oh yeah.
And it has the whole first half of it is just philosophy, and then there's a bunch of stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Peppered throughout with all of his recipes and stuff like that.
Man.
Fun stuff to eat.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's, I mean, the right cookbooks. Reading just their philosophy, where they came, some of the best stuff you could read. It's so good.
Humans.
Yeah, it's
like
humans.
really human stuff.
Yeah.
From people who automatically, by working in food, have suffered a lot.
Yeah.
Just by nature.
Well, that's the thing when you were talking about just the sandwiches. Like, I went back to when you were first saying just this loaf. Like, you want the consistency is such a thing.
Yeah.
Now you've got to be consistent with a menu filled with
diverse, crazy stuff.
Crazy stuff. Yeah, that's
really hard.
It is hard.
Daniel Zacharzuk is our GM, and he comes from the bar world and has lots of experience dealing with human beings. And the reason why I'm really excited to have that is because I don't think I will be very good if I get into those situations where, people say those things or talk shit on you, not knowing that you've been doing this and working on this with everything you have for 30 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you? Do you have any concept outside of this individual moment of dissatisfaction about how hard it is to do what we're all doing?
Exactly.
And it's especially coming from the corporate world prior.
Yeah.
Where it's not hard.
No.
There may be hard moments in the job, but all of the corporate advertising jobs or working on TV sets, writing and stuff like that, all of that stuff is extremely easy, and your meals are paid for, and they take care of you, and there's free beer and coffee, and everyone's like,
and
paid.
Yeah, and you leave, and you don't bring the job home with you. It's
not unless you have a
head.
shithead boss, but yes. It's not something that you have to, because it's being taken care of by someone else.
There is a real lack, I think, of considering the source. Considering the source. Yeah. Like, if you come in and you have a bad experience with this restaurant, or just because it's on the top of my mind, people are attacking Bette Midler. Yeah. Like, you're not considering the source, but she was a gay icon. Like, this is a powerful.
There's a lot behind this.
Filled with love and filled with nothing but good intentions. And like, to come at without considering any history, anything, is just an infuriating knee-jerk reaction in the culture.
Yeah, we are professional knee-jerkers now.
But that's the cool thing about your business, is that it has you enter, you buy at the farmer's market, you have to slow down. Yeah. It's literally like you're. And
I love that.
Yeah.
Like it's obviously it's maybe not as slow as some other meals or whatever.
Sure.
But it's still meant for that.
It has. It demands it of you. Yeah. It really does. It's such a cool.
I hope that it knocks people into that place, and that's we're gonna not at open, but eventually do live jazz there, and we're permitted for that. So it'll be really nice to have.
Is there alcohol?
Yeah, we have beer and wine.
No way.
Yeah, so we're open from 8 to 4 to start. So we'll have breakfast and croissants and all that stuff,
right?
And egg sandwiches, and but then eventually, when things hopefully smooth out in the first few months, we have 2 tables that are not connected to the floor that can be removed, and we have a whole section in the front where we can fit a jazz band, and we'll just do like simple bread and cheese plates and bread and dips and stuff like that, with beer and wine and live jazz, and it's just going to be.
This is amazing.
So nice, and we'll do it on off nights too, like Sunday, Monday is like the idea.
Right.
I never leave my house on Thursday through Saturday because it's just cuckoo.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
That's when all the humans are out.
Yeah, and it's good because it lines up with my date night.
Yeah, boom, perfect.
Because I'm always gigging and doing stuff. So that's hard. Mondays, Tuesdays, that's the spot.
Yeah, that's me too. It's like it's chill.
Man, you've created the perfect place.
I hope so. We're trying.
Man, how many years ago did we go down to San Diego to that festival where?
That was before the last time I was here, right? That wasn't like COVID.
Yeah,
right?
that was before. It had to be before
4
COVID.
years ago.
Yeah,
5 years ago.
That was so great. I forget what it's called. Like the Kabu, Kazoo, some festival down in San Diego, and I did stand up, but they also gave me a stage to talk about bread. So I just called on you. It was great.
Yeah, the two of us. It worked out really well. And there was a lot of people. It was like a lot of people. Good crowd.
Yeah, there was.
We just threw bread out to them, and
they started just chewing it.
That's all it
passing. That's how we. I think we did talk about that. Yeah. That's how we know it was before COVID.
Yeah,
people were literally taking a loaf of bread, biting it, and passing it to their neighbor,
to a stranger. Like. Eat from my bite mark. That's the best part.
So great.
Yeah. Oh my God.
All right. Let me ask you just a personal thing about baking at home before we get out of here. Mm-hmm. I have so many. Should I dial in, or should I just keep experimenting to the end of time? Because it feels like there's like the solid like 3 types that I'll make, and they're so good, and then. But I know there's like this whole world of like other stuff to open up to. It's like I don't, then I get in another. In deference to my wife, I don't want to have like 17 bags of flour throughout spelts and all the rest of it.
I mean, you gotta.
You know what I mean?
We're sick people.
Yeah.
You know, like you just gotta do whatever is calling you.
Yeah.
That doesn't destroy your family. You know, like, I mean, I'm so, you know, I'm not religious, and I always feel weird saying blessed, but like,
Right.
I'm blessed that my wife, who's I'm not married to yet, but is my wife. But
Yeah.
You know, my life is so hard. This
Right.
shit is so hard and demanding, and
Yeah.
you know, she is exceedingly supportive
Yeah.
and
That is
understands the depth of how painful some things can be in
Yeah.
this job, and how it involves human lives, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm then that's an extension of me fucking around in the kitchen and making
Right.
bread. It kind of went off the rails into this new
Yeah.
territory where it's not just about making bread anymore, and hasn't been for a while.
Right.
But
Right.
there's always room for tinkering.
Yeah.
I mean, during the pandemic, just because I wanted to make things as excruciatingly difficult as possible, when everybody was baking, I put together like a 40-page designed recipe with just to make one sourdough loaf.
Right.
And it was long and illustrations and worked out. People really liked it.
Yeah.
And then we turned it into a book.
Oh, wow.
And the book, which is just 100 pages, but has some more philosophical background stuff about Bubs,
Yeah.
was initially called "You Must Suffer," and that is the name of the book. You know,
Bread
because
baking book.
that's life.
Yeah.
If you want something of value
Yeah.
from life, you got to go through it.
Yeah.
And if you don't,
There's no
you're
way
either
around it.
really, really rich,
Right.
or you cut a corner, and
Right.
it's not going to be as legitimate. Same thing if you're just
Yeah.
doing it as a wealthy person, but
Yeah.
like, it's just it takes your guts on the table.
Yeah. 100%.
You gotta cry, and you gotta suffer, and you gotta fuck up and lose, and
Yeah.
make bad decisions, and that's how you get really good bread.
That is kind of, you kind of nailed like the heart of why, the thing that stops me from experimenting sometimes
Yeah.
is because you have to suck again.
That's the whole thing.
I'm like, no, I know how to do this. And
Yeah.
then you bring in rye.
Yeah,
And you're like, oh,
I don't know how to do anything.
Jesus,
Yeah,
I'm a
especially
moron.
rye.
Rye is the
Rye
worst.
ruins everything.
It really
Yeah.
does.
It's so delicious,
It's
though.
such
That's
a,
the problem.
it adds to just a trace of it
Yeah.
can change a loaf.
Oh, man. That's our
But
house loaf
a
is-
little more than a trace, and it's a sloppy mess.
Yeah, it's a pancake.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just like, I can't even put this, it can't get off my hands, and I can't get into the basket.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy, crazy, crazy.
But it is so good.
Yeah.
Well, this is very exciting. I mean, look, we've been pals now for a while. I can't wait that you've actually, at this moment, that you're going to like
It's crazy, man.
flipping the sign and saying open.
Yeah.
Is a pretty great thing. And
It's making me
congratulations.
It's felt. It's like it's been an absurd 7.5 years of this shit.
Yeah.
And now getting back to the thing that I actually want to do, and now as of this week, really feeling like, okay, we can put a date on the calendar and say
there.
like, this is really going to happen. Is
Yeah.
like a lot of stuff that's been stuck in my body and in my brain for a very long time is like gonna start pouring out.
You would not be a human being if there's not a moment where the shop is closed and you're not laying on a
Breaking-
pallet of bread just sobbing.
Yeah, it's definitely, I know it's gonna happen. It's
And
true.
it should, and you deserve it.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing the bread.
Anytime.
All right, man.
Okay.
Aaron, we got it. Okay, everybody, that's the big show. I told you Andy was a great guy. Thank you, Andy, for coming back for a second time on the podcast. Go to tompapa.com, look up all of my dates. I think I'm going to have one more here from the Jersey Shore. Next week, we're going to have Katie Parla, who, if you remember, we did Razza Pizza with Dave Richer. He was on the podcast, and he created his pizza book with Katie Parla, and we get to interview her from Rome. So we're going to get all into pizza and all into Italian cooking with Katie Parla next week. And by then, I'll probably have some more Jersey treats to share with you. So in honor of summer vacation, get yourself some Taylor ham and some taffy and enjoy yourself. All right, I'll see you guys real soon.